A stranger holds the door for you. Your mom babysits so you can have a date night with your partner. A coworker says your haircut looks fantastic. Your sister gives you the book you've been dying to read. What do we say? Thank you. Why do we say those words? Maybe those words come out of your mouth without much thought, like a habit. For example, when we go to the theater and the cashier tells us, enjoy the show, and you're like, thanks, you too, and then you're like, wait a second, and then it becomes awkward. Or maybe you were taught as a kid that it's impolite not to say so. Perhaps your parents would scold you every time you didn't, and as an adult now you get an electric shock every time someone gives or does something for you. You have to say those two words. Or maybe you don't want to be perceived as ungrateful or unappreciative. Recently, I started teaching my daughter the words thank you, and in Cantonese there are two types. 多謝, which means for something given, and 唔該, which is for a service. We've all heard or seen those bratty, spoiled, rotten kids who don't say please and thank you. I mean, they're just the worst, right? I mean, what's happening to society? Kids don't have manners nowadays. So no parent wants to be that parent. So we instill these words into our kids because society perceives it as appropriate and righteous. But does a kid who says thank you really mean they're a better kid than a kid who doesn't? I think it really depends on why that kid is saying thank you. Growing up, I was taught to say thank you as a way to appease others, to avoid consequences, because I wanted to be perceived a certain way. And those reasons didn't teach me a thing about gratitude. I didn't understand what gratitude was until I was an adult, when I started watching TED Talks, reading things on self-improvement, fulfillment, and happiness, even though I'd been saying thank you my whole life. When we become mindful of the blessings that surround us every day, that's when gratitude becomes a practice and it benefits our own happiness and fulfillment. And I think we should frame thank you as a way to remind ourselves that humanity is good and that there is kindness in the world despite all the darkness, like the injustices we see in the news or when we experience tragedy. That not everyone is a corrupt politician or a murderer or a sex trafficker or a child predator. So when we teach our kids thank you, I think we should tell them it's for them, not for us or even for the person they're thanking, because then they'll really appreciate the world more. It'll teach them to savor the good experiences, the good feelings, manage adversity, and cultivate good relationships. That when an auntie or uncle buys them a gift or a friend decides to share their toy with them, they should be thankful that people like that exist in their life. People who care and love for them, people who are good and kind. And when we say thank you to our kids, we should be telling them the same thing. That we're saying those words as a reminder for ourselves that we are grateful that they exist in our life. That they bring us joy, positivity, and light and hope, even when they stress the shit out of us. So eventually, as a society, thank you isn't a social expectation, but it becomes a real practice of gratitude. And with that said, thank you for watching this video. And if you want to thank me, please, it would mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend.